Hello everybody, this is Ronar, and welcome back to Beyond Legendary. Here we are in the strategic layer, and we are going to be promoting our soldiers that we just got back from that last mission. Let's start with our ranked up soldiers. Arsonist over here is going to be taking Viscous Accelerant. Now all of our flamethrowers are going to apply a debuff that makes damage over times do more damage. Down over here, our Geneva class. We're going to be picking up the Toxic Fuel, making it so that their chem throwers do even more damage. There we go. Down here, we've got two new rookies. Bonsai Warrior over here has the ability to promote into another Hell Knight. You know, I saw this 9 hack stat and I was like, oh, okay, we can turn her into a really cool hacker maybe. And here we are with another Hell Knight. You know what? Let's run a triple Hell Knight team composition. This ought to be fun. We are going to have 3 Hell Knights on this team. They're all going to be running very similar builds. This one has slightly less mobility than the other one, so I'm definitely going to be running the teleport ability once again. Hasten Resolve. I'll probably take something like Shotgun Finesse, maybe. I don't know. We'll think about what we need to do with this person. Maybe I'll use Slam Fire. Void Rift. I think I always take Hardened Shield. It's just such a good ability to have. And then, I guess since your mobility is a little bit lower, I can opt to keep Shotgun Finesse. I can also use Phase Walk to do some teleportation shenanigans. Got a pretty decent range. 27 tiles is quite far. I'll probably take Phase Walk and try that out with the soldier. Tried a couple of different things. But let's take a look at the perks down here and see if this kind of changes our minds on what we might want to try running. Switch Guard. Transposition grants the Hell Knight a 20 defense bonus. If swapping with an ally, that ally also receives the same bonus. That's actually not bad. Shotgun attacks inflict poison. Ooh. Combatives. Psychic. Seize control of a robotic target as if manipulating a puppet. Interesting ability here. I wonder how long this lasts. Unlike Gremlin, has no penalty for failure, and generally marionette control is slightly more reliable with its chances of control. We also have another psychic killing ability here. Conjure a phantasmal attacker that paralyzes a humanoid target with fear. Their fear is so intense that it deals damage for each action lost. Applies multiple stacks of might to an ally, causing them to deal more damage with their next attacks. Okay. I like Dragon Force, so I'm definitely going to pick that up. You've got high intelligence, so I could probably slap on one more thing. We can either do Switch Guard and Toxic Nightmare, or we can do Marionette Control. Being able to poison a target with the Hell Knight is actually kind of interesting. Although being able to take control of a mech without even using hacking is also interesting. I think I'll try this one out, maybe. I'll try out Marionette Control. The other option we have is we can take Shotgun Wedding. This one's not a bad one because we do have the Phase Walk ability. If we teleport into the right spot, we might be able to just annihilate a bunch of enemies with Shotgun Wedding. You know what? I'm gonna go for this one. This is going to cost 65 points, and that means we're probably going over by like 16 points or so. But that should be fine. We'll try this out, we'll see how this combo works out. If we don't like this Phase Walk Shotgun Wedding combo, we'll switch to something else in the future. Alright then, Bonsai Warrior, I swear if we get another Hell Knight, that'd be hilarious. Alright, there's not another Hell Knight. We have access to the Warden, the Ranger, and the Heavy. Toki as a soldier was saved to the character pool as a Warden, so the game always gives him a Warden as one of his selections. I'm going to be doing Warden here. This is another unique class very similar to the Hell Knight. This class over here is able to wield any form of weapon as long as it's not a cannon, a vector rifle, bullpup, or... well, basically can hold a shotgun and assault rifle, and SMGs. That's basically all of his weapon selections. I like shotguns on this class, so I'm going to do exactly that. They also come with a sword over here and a couple of utility item slots, same as usual. Just gonna fill this out with something, so we've got something in these slots. Now then, in terms of soldier abilities, let me move him in a way that doesn't have his cape blocking the icons here. Wardens are psionically gifted scouts, however they have not received traditional training in psionics, and the way they use it differs from what we've seen before. Instead of using a psi-amp to amplify their mind's power, they make their body act as a conduit for the dormant psionic energy around the battlefield. They affect it in various ways as the energy passes through them. This is just a lot of flavor text. Their main thing is that they hold a sword and a shotgun, and they can have some psionic effects on these abilities. Now, where to begin when it comes to explaining the Warden? It's kind of a complex one, similar to the Fusilier, so hopefully I'll be able to explain it to you guys in a way that makes sense. The first ability they have is called Warden's Advance. Attack any enemy within movement range with your sword, so it's basically just like any other chopping ability. Activate Ebb and Flow, and change stance if you have an action point left. So this class operates off of a stance system, and I will go through that with you guys as best as I can. Wardens are able to change stances instead of ending their turn after certain abilities, provided they have an action point left. Here's a little bit more of the details. You can pause the video and read through this if you want to try to make sense of it. We also have Insight. Standard shots are not turn-ending, allowing for shooting, then moving, or shooting twice on a turn. Okay, so they have the similar ability to the Ranger class. They're allowed to stand still and use both their action points on shooting if they want. They can sort of act as an infantry if you do want some sort of build similar to that. Now then, how does their stance change work? So at the beginning of their turn, they always start in offensive stance, is what I'm going to call it. I forgot what they called it in the text here. Let me go read through this real quick. Okay, they call it offensive and defensive stance also. But basically, you always start off in offensive stance. If you activate certain abilities, for example, the Warden's Advance, you will run in there and chop an enemy, and you'll have one more action left. However, it activates Ebb and Flow and change stance, which means they now go into defensive stance. So the one action point that they have left can only be used on a defensive action, whether it's to move, whether it's to hunker down, or just whatever. But they have one defensive action. They will have certain abilities that can also be activated with defense. So basically, Wardens are able to run in, chop, and run back to safety, or hunker down, or just defend themselves in some way. That's all you need to know when it says activates Ebb and Flow. It just means they switch into their other stance. Now, the first and easiest way to explain this is using this first perk over here, Premonition. Allows the Warden to change stances without attacking. Free action on a 3-turn cooldown. Activates Ebb and Flow. So this is a free ability that just automatically switches their stance. Now, the way that most people will probably end up using this is now you're able to run in with a double move, chop the enemy, now you're in defensive stance. You activate Premonition and switch yourself back over to offensive stance, and then you can take your shotgun and blast them, or you can take your sword and chop something else. But essentially you get to chop, switch stances, shoot. That way you get to have 2 offensive actions. This is a very straightforward little combo that these guys can get. Next perk over here does a very similar thing. Concentrate on your next move, defensive stance, 15% hit and crit chance, plus 2 damage for critical hits for 2 turns. If you're in offensive stance, you get similar bonuses, but slightly weaker, only 10%, and only 1 plus damage. It activates Ebb and Flow, removes disorientation, free action, 4-turn cooldown, refreshes the initial effects duration if it's already active. So that's just a really complicated way of saying you get to switch stances and get a buff with this perk. So the main combo would then be run in, chop with the sword, activate this thing while you're in defensive stance from chopping your sword, and now you get a big bonus to your hit chance and crit chance and damage, and you get to use your shotgun to shoot them in the face. Very straightforward. If you like the sword chop into shotgun combo, which is really good, it's basically using run and gun with your assault class or your vanilla ranger class, and being able to blast the enemies in the face from a double move. Very, very good in that sense. But it comes on a cooldown, right? This one comes on a 3-turn cooldown, so while you're waiting for this one to come back up, you can use this one to reset your actions also. Very fun combo there. I'll go through some of their side perks so you guys can have an idea of what your alternatives are if you choose not to switch out of defensive stance from sword chopping. Over here they have access to Dervish, Lightning Reflexes, and Overkill. Overkill is mostly for finishing off enemies. It's like damage and stuff, and that's fine. Dervish is a little bit more interesting because with the chop and shoot combo, you can pretty much kill a lot of the early game enemies. This ability lets you reset the cooldowns a little bit sooner, actually. And since this has a 4-turn cooldown and this has a 3-turn cooldown, I believe you're going to be able to activate this ability, next turn activate this ability, and assuming you get a kill on both of those turns, you'll be able to immediately use Premonition again, and you can continuously use the chop-shoot combo over and over, provided you're actually killing the enemies. Very straightforward, very fun. However, I think Lightning Reflexes is the right way to go on any melee attacker in Beyond Legendary. The endgame enemies will just absolutely rip you apart if you do not have this. So, unless you have something like Shadow Step or that other perk that lets you ignore Overwatch, probably recommend taking Lightning Reflexes. If you have a team composition where you're sure that they can help support these guys in dodging enemy Overwatch attacks, then go for it. You can go for the Dervish too. Next perk over here, Relocate. This is very similar to the Hell Knight's ability of swapping, same as the Templar's swap ability in vanilla. Very straightforward, and it's allowed to be used in either stance. So you can do something like run in and chop and use Relocate to teleport your ally into that spot, and then have your ally finish off the target that you're attacking while putting the Warden in safety. A little bit of a kind of mix-up rather than the usual just whip out your shotgun and kill them type combo. This is a very team-oriented one, so I recommend using it that way. Or you can use it to just kidnap an enemy, that works too. Anatomy over here gives you crit and 2 armor piercing. This is a lot of stats for one perk, so this is still a very good perk. If you choose to just go with the chop shoot combo, you can just go with anatomy. And finally, you can also take go with the flow. Become one with the movement, gaining supernatural dodging abilities. Once per turn, gain a movement AP after activating ebb and flow. Also grants a 6th sense to be able to dodge AoE and multi-target attacks. This is basically taking that other 6th sense perk that you saw on the other classes, and you can now become immune to AoE attacks. Purifier flamethrowers, missiles, grenades, all those other things. You can be immune to that. Pretty cool. And the main combo here is to combo this with your sword chop. So you're allowed to run in, chop with your sword, then you're allowed to shoot the enemy because you have insight, so you can activate Unwavering Concentration or Premonition, shoot your enemies, and run back out to safety with Go with the Flow. Very fun combo, actually. I kind of like this one. I might consider just going with this perk right here. If you want to, you can also take Relocation to combo this with your teammates. I can see this being used with our Hell Knights, actually. Have our Warden run in and chop the enemies, and then immediately relocate with the Hell Knight and have the Hell Knight shield up and finish off a target, and then have the Hell Knight tank hits for the rest of the team. That's actually kind of a fun combo too. I might consider taking Relocate for that reason. Next perk over here, we got Untouchable. If you're not planning on using your Ebb and Flow move to run away, for example, if you're planning on just doing the Chop Shoot combo, and then just killing your enemies, taking Untouchable is not a bad choice if you don't have access to any of this stuff. I would say if you're going to take Anatomy for the pure stat damage, this is the one you want to take in that build path. However, we're not going that path, we're going to go one of these ones here. If we take Keen Edge, we can make our sword do a lot more damage, or we can give ourselves Disabling Shot to disable enemies much more effectively. For this one, I'm not sure which one I would rather take. I do like damage, but I also like disabling enemies. Some boss units are immune to stuns, of course, so this won't affect those guys. I'll have to think about which one of these I choose to go for. Keep on looking over here, though. Next perk over here is Unbalanced. A special shot that will cause the target to lose its balance. Guaranteed to crit if it hits, and the target takes an additional 25% damage from all sources for the rest of the turn. Available in both stances, does not end your turn, costs 2 ammo. Very interesting perk over here. Kind of reminds me of Rupture, except instead of like Rupture, Rupture gives you +3 damage on all future damage sources. This one's a percentage damage boost. Percentage damage boosts are quite rare, so I might consider taking that one. Lightning Fang allows you to get an extra slash in with your sword. I'll probably take Unbalanced. This boosts the rest of the team's damage against a primary target, and this might actually save someone's life in the future. The other option is to take Spatial Surfer. I know they can learn some interesting teleport abilities down here, and you can have a soldier that's able to teleport around the map if you decide to go that route. And then finally over here, we have access to Double Tap, Thousands to Go, and Winding. Double Tap is the same perk that you've seen a while ago. Activate to fire a standard shot, and then you get a second action restricted to an additional shot or overwatching. Great to just push in extra damage onto this type of build. Now you're able to run in, chop, switch stances, and shoot twice. And if you have access to go with the flow, you can run to safety afterwards too. Very straightforward, very fun, and lots of damage. Thousands to Go gives you a bit more flexibility, so if you're able to get the kill on your target, you don't have to use a second shot. You can, for example, run in, kill a target, use your teleport, or you can run in, kill a target, use your stun. You can do all sorts of fun combos, use your relocate. Finally, Winding over here, a twisting melee strike which deals critical damage and ensures that the target will take an additional +3 damage from all attacks in the future. Offensive stance only and disables the Warden's advance during the same turn. Activates Ebb and Flow. In a sense, this this replaces your regular Sword Slash into a Sword Slash that kind of cripples the enemy's defenses a little bit. In terms of build, I'm not actually sure. I haven't really played around with Master Sergeant Wardens very much. A lot of my Wardens tend to die before they reach this point. But from a theory crafting perspective, if you're sure that you can get kills, Thousands to Go is the way to go. But in Beyond Legendary, things are harder to kill, so you kind of need to set up to kill things. Probably Winding is the better option. You do have a very powerful combo over here with Winding and Unbalanced. So Winding is basically like a melee Rupture. It does apply its own Rupture effect, and this is the same as the Rupture effect from the perk that allows you to shoot it into the enemies, so this won't stack with that. But you can do something like where you go run in with Winding, hit them, activate your stance switching ability, and then hit them again with an Unbalance, and now they're taking +3 damage and +25% bonus damage. That's actually a great boss killer tech right now. I'm probably going to go with that set of perks here. Let's take a look at what they had down here and then decide based on that. This class does also get access to pistols, so you can add in like a little quick lightning hands into your combo too, just for some fun added damage bonuses. Subsequent shots during a turn provides +5% hit chance in addition to +20% melee critical and 10% range critical chance if against the same target. Interesting. If you decide to go something like Double Tap, you could opt to take Deception. Increase your vision radius by 3 meters, extending the soldier's range from which they can attack. Once per mission, you can increase this bonus to 12 meters for a turn, but soldier will lose the passive bonus for the rest of the mission. Foresight protects the Warden against the next damaging attack and removes damaging status effects on activation. Only available in defensive stance. Ends your turn, this ability cannot be activated on the same turn with unwavering concentration. Interesting. So this is kind of like a little defensive bonus that you can grab, similar to Untouchable, except instead of requiring you to kill something, you can just activate this with your secondary defensive action. A very interesting take on a way to build the soldier. One thing that's good about picking this over the other options is that you get to eat up an enemy's attack. And not only that, you can also remove things like burns, you can remove things like poison and such. Not bad actually, Foresight's pretty solid. Lock and load, kills with your shotgun, restore 1 ammo. Steadfast. You don't need to build your own mine shield with any sectoid corpses, you can just have this. This is the same ability that the Hell Knight gets. Transposition stuns enemies when swapping positions with them. Very interesting. And then the final perk over here is Heavy Hitter. Okay. Let's see how we would build this guy. I'm thinking we'll do something with time shift, and then we'll go with the flow. That means this soldier's main combo is going to be run in and chop them with winding, then slam them with unbalance to just really debuff them. And if this combo is on cooldown, or if we don't want to use this combo, instead we can just use relocate to swap with an enemy and stun them. That's somewhat of an interesting ability. Somewhat. It does kind of lack in the damage department that the Warden is mostly known for. It would be nice if we could take thousands to go, that way I can do something like run in, chop, shoot a target, kill them, and then swap and stun something else. That would be actually quite nice. Is there any other combo that we might want to go with this guy? He's got high combat intelligence. I might just take Foresight because it's a powerful perk. This is fine too, it gets you +2 damage. And this class is multi-striking quite often. You're oftentimes hitting things with your sword and then shooting them. I think we'll go with this combo here. 30 points and 15 points, so that's 45 points. I might be able to squeeze in another 10 points, but overall I think I'm happy with these two perks here. And then we'll just run this soldier like so. Give them the relocate, allow them to stun enemies on demand. That should be fine. If I take disabling shot, I'll even have more forms of stuns actually. This is quite interesting. So the cooldown on unbalanced is 3 turns. The cooldown on disabling shot is 5 turns. And there is also a cooldown on relocate, which is another 3 turns. So between all of these cooldowns, we'll just cycle between all of these cooldown based abilities. I can stun them with my disabling shot while this is on cooldown. I can stun them with the relocate while this is on cooldown. I can increase damage against a boss unit and just kill it really easily. That should be fun, I think. Alright, Toki, you're gonna be kind of like a box of tricks for us. You got your sword, you got your shotgun, and you can do all sorts of fun things to the enemy team. Cool. Alright then. That is all of the people that we need to go through, it seems. A lot shorter than our previous strategic layer videos, of course. Now then, back here in the Geoscape, let's see what we can do. We can either look for missions up here or look for missions down here. I think my main goal is to get our first liberation up and running as soon as possible. And seeing as how Advent really wants this region, I think we should contest them for this region. Their vigilance is very high over here and they really want to shove more strength into the spot. We need to stop them from doing so. Ooh, what's this? Hack the workstation on Advent train, find enemy flight paths. Standard UFO. Okay, this is exciting. Now, when I've explained this in the past, I've said that Advent can move strength around their regions. How do they do so? The first way is they can move strength from a side region into this region as long as it has a connection. So in this case, they can't move from here to here, can they? No, there's a gray line there, I can barely see it. But they can move strength from here to here, they can move strength from here, or they can move strength from here into this region. And to do that, they have to run a mission called a supply convoy, or a supply raid for us. And basically that mission will be hidden. If we detect it, and we find the mission, and we stop it, then we stop the point of strength from coming over, and we destroy it completely. If we don't detect it or we let it expire, then they get to move the strength over. The other way they can do it is through off-world reinforcements. Basically, they are bringing in reinforcements from space, from whatever their alien planets are using their hyperdrive FTL alien spaceship technology. That is... Oops, that's not it. That is essentially what this mission over here is. This is the UFO mission. They can bring in reinforcements through a UFO. Now this mission is a little bit more complex because it's meant to be a lot harder to counter, but because we had such a strong early game lead on our rebel recruiting capabilities, we had 10 rebels on intel, we managed to detect this mission, so we get to intercept it. Now this mission comes in two forms, or not two forms, but in two steps. First, you have to complete this mission, which tends to have a very low detection time. This is quite low, but considering what this mission type is, it's meant to be a low chance to detect it. And you have to complete this mission first, and then the location of the UFO will be revealed, and then you can go assault the UFO and take all the stuff from it, while also stopping these strengths from entering this region. We are definitely going to do that, so let's get a team ready. This is a hack workstation mission, so we do need some hackers on this one. Who are we going to bring in as our hackers? We have a couple of options here. I think we bring in Watson Airport. Watson Airport has pretty good hack stat. I kind of want Watson Airport to just start getting some training here. So once this lag goes away, there we go. We'll have Watson Airport on this mission, and then we gotta support him. What's a decently strong team? I am gonna bring Mr. Reed over here with us. And you know what? Let's do a full Hell Knight team. I think this might be fun. Or is it better to split up my Hell Knights? Might be better to split up my Hell Knights between team compositions. I'll definitely bring Toki on this one. Maybe we'll bring along our Buccaneer. A Technical, perhaps? In the early game, the team compositions that you make aren't super relevant. Just make sure that you don't have like an all-fire team. Make sure you're not bringing too many of your hackers on one mission so you have enough hackers for other missions. And make sure you have enough brute force power. Classes like Buccaneer that can just kind of run into the enemies and break through tough stalemates. That's kind of the stuff that you want. I'll bring the Buccaneer on this one, I think. There we go, we got our Bucky. And finally, one more soldier. I'm thinking the Geneva class is not a bad option. Let's continue training up our Geneva class. They've got rockets, so they can easily break through any situations that might stall us out. Now, this is a little bit tougher than we're used to. Normally, we're used to 7 to 9 enemies being on a mission. Right now, it's saying 13 to 15 expected. We're allowed to spend 30 intel to boost a mission and increase our infiltration by 50%. So with a boost, right here, you'll see that it goes from 75% up to 113%. So that's acceptable. It's a tougher mission than usual, but we've got a fully trained team, so I think this team can handle it. And I'm going to send out this squad to handle this mission. I'll steer these guys up. I'm going to bring a hacker's laptop for slightly better hacking on our Dragoon. Ceramic plating for survivability, and probably a medkit for healing. Over here on the Bucky, got our ceramic plating, and I could opt not to put any equipment on you. That'll actually keep your mobility high. Because every piece of equipment that you put on tends to lower your mobility by 1 point. See that? I think I want this guy's job to just run in there, sawed-off shotgun, and just back out to safety, maybe. Yeah, I think we'll do that. Hell Knight over here. You got 45 will, that's very high compared to your teammates, so you're going to be the last person to get mind controlled. I need to make sure that you have your flashbangs available. You disable any sectoids that might try anything funny. I'm going to switch out the sword with a traditional sword, slightly better accuracy. Hunting shotgun should be fine. I'm going to give you a grenade just to try and kill off certain enemy types a little bit more effectively. And we got ourselves a Rocketeer over here. Okay, with the boost, it's going to be a 10 to 12 enemy mission, a little bit tougher than we're used to, but I think this team can handle it. It's a very strong team, and I trust them to push through the difficulties. Let's get you guys out there. UFO mission within like the first few days of our campaign. That is a blessing right now. It might not sound like a lot, but having the strength in this region not go up like that is just so nice. I'm very happy with this find. Continue looking for missions, and we have sit reps now. But this is a nice mission. Rescue resistance contacts. That is going to be more people for this region. We can get up to 13 people in a region, so it's important to try to max out your region as best as you can. For this mission over here, I'm going to take out Jane Kelly because she kind of needs a bit more training. She's one of our stronger units in the early game. I want to give her some love. So Jane Kelly, let's bring you on this one, and we'll bring another Hell Knight for this mission. This mission does involve a hack, so we can bring one of our hacker units. I'll bring the hijacker right there. And then following along with that, I guess we bring the Sidewinder, because the Sidewinder hasn't really had many opportunities to participate on missions. And then after that, I'm gonna bring probably this Technical. Just try to spread out our EXP. It's good to focus your EXP on a couple of elite forces, but you still want your other people to be strong, so you make sure to not neglect people. You never know when you're gonna need some of your lower ranking soldiers to help you out. In terms of equipment over here, hunting shotgun's pretty solid. Ceramic plating. I think we'll do flashbang and medkit on you. There we go, and that is going to be our squad, I think. I'm going to put a Xeno medkit on the snake. The Xeno medkit is just a medkit specifically built for the aliens. I don't believe a human can use a Xeno medkit, and I believe the aliens don't know how to use regular medkits. Alright, this will be our squad. We're going to have our hijacker kind of stealth and lead the squad in, get the objective, while the rest of the squad kind of just cleans up. Very simple and straightforward team composition. Alright, we're still looking for liberation missions. I'm surprised that we haven't found the liberation yet, because I wanted to explain that to you guys at some point. 10 days, get some intel and a point of interest. Let's go do this mission also. Alright, we're starting to run out of people to run missions with though, I think. Oh yeah, we're starting to use up all of our people. This is another hack mission, so we definitely want a hacker on this one. I'm going to bring along our other Dragoon. I do get to build a hacker's laptop, so let's do one. I should have given one to the hijacker from earlier. Unfortunately, I forgot about that. There we go, we got our Dragoon over here. And for this mission, we'll also bring along the Viper. I said I was going to train this person into a Shinobi using the GTS, so I'm not going to bring this rookie here. Bring the Arsonist instead. And now that we're starting to run out of people, we should probably bring along the Shiv, maybe? Maybe bring an extra roboticist. Alright, this will be our squad for the intel mission. Let's gear these guys up really quickly. I don't have any ammo to give to this person right now, so unfortunately I can't do that. That will just have to remain empty for a bit. Ceramic plating for Eula. I'm just doing a random mix of medkits and flashbangs and grenades. As long as I feel like I have everything that I need, that's all that really matters here. Okay then. That is going to be our other squad. We're going to be making our making use of our first Shiv actually. This should be exciting. Let's get these people out there.
Sky Ranger, we're in the pipe. 5x5.
And I hope you guys are starting to see the importance of having multiple team compositions that are available for missions. You guys can see we're already running 4 full teams of missions right now. That's like what, almost 20 people? And there we go, that's the liberation, but it's a little bit difficult for us to do this one right now. We've only got 4 days and 21 hours, and we just do not have a team. I can take back one of our teams to start doing this mission if I want to, and I kind of do want to. Our Ranger came back up from the wound. Skirmisher is still out. Got our Overseer over here. 1, 2, 3. If I'm willing to not keep this person as a rookie, I could probably push through on this mission. Although I really do want a shinobi, so I don't want to just like promote that person randomly. We could do a 3-man mission. This is very risky though. If you guys remember what I said, you want 1 XCOM for every 2 enemies. So for a 9 enemy mission, you want to have like 4.5 units. We're barely even reaching the 4 right now. I could pull back one of these squads, although it would be kind of a shame. Most of these are already halfway infiltrated, and I do kind of want to do these missions. Yeah, like I want to get more rebels. I want to get the UFO for certain. And I want to get my hidden resistance computer. This is the one that I'd be most likely to pull back if I were to pull something back. I think we might just end up skipping out on this one, which is kind of a shame. But this is the kind of mission where it's a huge risk to just send in a squad of 3 on it. Even a squad of 4 with a rookie is kind of a risk to be taking on this one. These 2 soldiers are not particularly strong at brute forcing situations, so essentially what we would be doing is we would basically be running in, hoping that this Shiv can tank enough hits, and trying to get one of these people to just hack the objective and run away. As you guys have seen, the current missions that we've already been on, our team has already been taking injuries and stuff, and we've almost lost soldiers a few times. We kind of don't want to push this in ways that we can't do it. So it's going to be another 5 days before we get our liberation mission, and that's unfortunate, but it's just not happening here. What I'll do now is I'll come down here and look for a liberation mission over here.
We have made a number of new discoveries.
We completed our basic research, so essentially we're given an invisible scientist up there.
We extracted from you. We'll need to conduct the appropriate research as soon as
Next thing we'll do is we'll actually head into Alien Defectors, I think. This is going to cost us 20 supplies as well as 10 intel, but it does give us a free alien, which is almost always the Muton, I believe.
Commander.
Pretty sure it's always the Muton
When I
Trooper.
have a full report available.
Alright, our sharpshooters are done training up.
Commander, we currently have
Let's
no new
throw
supplies
in our
coming in.
last guy over
We'll need
here.
to
I
seek
did
out
say I
new
wanted a
means of replenishing
shinobi,
our
and I am going to
resources.
get one right here. There we go. Alright, let's go over the sharpshooter class while we're here. I said this episode wasn't going to take too long because we've already promoted most of our guys, but here we are. Still here after, how long has it been? 38 minutes. We'll start by looking at... It's gonna be... I think we'll look at Seabrez first. Okay, Seabrez was a 75 accuracy rookie. Upon promotion into the sharpshooter class, they've got 82 accuracy. Now, this is not the vanilla sharpshooter, this is the Long War 2 sharpshooter. And as you guys can see, this guy gets insane amount of accuracy growth. This guy's got 82 accuracy at squatty. At max rank, this person is probably going to be hitting like over 100 accuracy. Now, if you guys have played Long War 2, you guys might be a little bit surprised to see a couple of new perks over here. I will go through all of them. They get low profile as a squatty perk now. So now your half cover counts as full cover. They've got squad sight. They're allowed to shoot from outside of their 17 tile range. Hollow target. They do come with a holotargeter as their secondary weapon, unlike in vanilla when they get a little pistol to go with them. And finally, they also get lead the target. Take a delayed shot with plus 20 aim at an enemy if it moves. Costs 2 actions and has a 3-turn cooldown. This is a very interesting perk. So remember how I said with Overwatch, or basically shots on enemy turns, you don't get the luxury of knowing that the enemy is guaranteed to die. In a sense though, this is basically better than a standard shot in most cases. You get plus 20 accuracy, and this can crit. This is not counted as an Overwatch ability, so it will also work against enemies with the Shadow Step ability. Unless Reshi changed that in the code. I don't remember if she did or not. But yeah. This is better than a standard shot, but you don't get the control though. There's a couple ways that you can use this. One of the most popular ways that you can use this is you use this to engage a battle. So while you're in concealment, you start with lead the target. You hit end turn and the enemies try moving and you automatically shoot them. On their turn, they waste their turn scampering into position, and then your turn comes up again, and now the enemies are down a person, or at least severely wounded if one person, and the rest of your team can act now. Very powerful way to start off a fight. Now, there are multiple lines for the sniper. I'm going to start by going through this one over here. I actually did a quick video about the Sharpshooter class, actually, which is probably out like sometime this weekend or something. Or, well, I guess by the time I release this video, it won't be this weekend for you guys, because I'm releasing like one video a day, and I'm recording a lot of videos all in one session right now. But, yeah, Death from Above allows you to shoot from extremely long ranges. Now, normally with a sniper rifle and squad sight, your accuracy starts falling off after a certain distance, and the fall off can get pretty bad actually. From extreme distances, you can lose up to like 20-30% accuracy. With Death from Above, you cut that down a lot, and this soldier is able to hit things from across the entire map. This is like one of the few classes that can be considered a true like long-range sniper because of the Death from Above perk. Now, you won't be needing this too often, but certain mission types such as HQ assaults and supply raids, I would say this is actually where it becomes most relevant. Now, the really magical thing about this perk is that when you kill something, you get to take an extra action, and you might be thinking, oh, can I shoot with it? No, you cannot shoot with that extra action because it's only one action, and you need 2 actions to shoot with your sniper rifle. However, you are allowed to do things like reload, or you can use steady weapon, which is an action granted by a weapon upgrade. Unfortunately, I can't showcase the weapon upgrades for you guys yet, but there's a weapon upgrade called a stock, which allows you to take an action to steady your weapon and make your next shot much more accurate and much higher crit chance. It can also work very well with the auto sniper rifle. This is a 1 ammo shot. Now, normally with the auto sniper rifle, you can do a lot more damage, but you have to shoot for 1 round, then next round you have to reload, then the round after that you get to shoot again, and you can only shoot every other turn. With Death from Above, if you're guaranteeing that you get a kill with your auto sniper rifle, then you get to actually shoot and reload on that one turn, shoot and reload on the next turn, shoot and reload on the next turn. So there's a bit of a trade-off that you can go with there. I think it's quite interesting, the different ways that you can build the sniper and equip the sniper now. Next perk over here, Damn Good Ground. It gives you 10 aim and 10 defense when you are on high ground. I don't like this nearly as much as Center Mass. Getting +1 damage is just so much better in almost every way, so I would personally just recommend taking Center Mass here if you're doing a sniper build. Next up, Precision Shot versus Disarming Shot. The middle row is all holo targeting, so I'm just going to skip that for now. Precision Shot is quite nice because it allows you to get really big damage when you need it. And if you have your weapon steadied using a stock, you're pretty much getting your crit hit. I do like taking this perk very much, although Disarming Shot is kind of interesting too. This is a new perk introduced to the Sharpshooter tree. It's a special shot that allows you to force the enemies to reload. Now, there's a problem though, in that enemies can just reload and shoot you if they're not forced to move or anything. So you kind of have to get a little bit creative if you want to get this to guarantee that the enemies don't get to just shoot you back. They did consider this though, so the modders decided to give this thing a 15 aim debuff and a 30% critical chance debuff. So even if they just reload and shoot back at you, at the very least they're losing some stats, but I don't think it's that great though. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe if I play around with this I'll realize, oh, this is amazing in the early game. But for now, I'm just gonna stick with Precision Shot here. Next perk over here, Stay on Target. Removes the cooldown for the Lead the Target ability. Normally this has like a 3-turn cooldown, now you get to just use this every single turn. I think that's the default pick if you are going to go with the Death from Above build. If you take Advanced Reposition, that's because you're taking the Snapshot build here. After that, you got the choice between Deadeye and Anatomy. I personally love taking Deadeye because that 50% damage boost, this is what gets you those really crazy like 40, 50 damage crits. Those really nutty big numbers, and I'm a huge sucker for just big numbers and pushing my damage up as high as I can. But of course, that is kind of a personal preference thing. This is a very powerful perk here. +2 armor piercing is nothing to laugh at, especially with that plus 15% crit chance just built into it. This is for all sorts of damage, so this actually also works for pistols. Fun fact, the Sharpshooter class is an excellent user of pistols actually, but you can actually opt to go for a pistol build, and the anatomy perk will be quite good with that too, as well as your regular sniper rifle shots. Both of these are perfectly valid choices in my eyes. This is kind of like more of a, I really want this one thing dead on this turn really badly, and this is kind of the perk that you would take if you just want consistent damage overall. Disabling Shot, this is a very good perk for stopping boss units, but some bosses are immune to stuns, for example the Chosen themselves. This really shines when you're able to do the crit stun, so instead of doing more damage when you critically hit with this attack, it stuns them for an extra turn. So the initial shot stuns for 2 actions, and then the crit shot stuns for 4 actions. Very, very powerful. Lethal is just raw damage. Raw damage is always good, of course. So this one, once again, I leave it up to a player preference thing. I think Disabling Shot is overall a little bit better if you're just going by like raw performance basis. But this one's still very solid. It really depends on your team comp. If this is like the kind of soldier that you're going to be using to stun boss units, then that's kind of important. If you're just trying to kill the Chosen and other types of boss units that don't get stunned, Lethal is a better choice, of course. Now, the really fun thing to look at is their Master Sergeant perks, and I love the math behind this because it's very interesting. Double Tap. Activate to fire a standard shot and gain a second action restricted to an additional shot or overwatching. When you double tap, you're basically getting ×2 damage on your shot. Not exactly, but you're basically getting ×2 damage on your shot. Of course, it's factoring in accuracy and all that other stuff. But you get ×2 damage on your shot. This is every other turn because it has a cooldown, 2-turn cooldown. So your first turn, you get double damage. Second turn, you get 1 times damage. Third turn, you get double damage again. And this averages out to be approximately 1.5 damage. Approximately. However, if you want to look at it in regards to Death from Above and the steadied weapon, you only get to steady your weapon after you score a kill, right? So, your first shot will get the steadied weapon bonus. Your second shot will not, however. So in practice, even though in paper it's a 1.5 damage boost, I think it's a little bit lower in practice because your second shot tends to be a lot weaker. The only time that this, I think, does benefit over more raw damage is if you're shooting against enemies that don't take cover, such as most boss units, sectopods. If you're able to get 100% accuracy with holotargeting, that's good too. For the most part, in the late game, it's pretty easy to get 100% accuracy with holotargeting and stuff. So this is probably the better thing to take numbers-wise, but if you want consistency, though, Alpha Mike Foxtrot is a huge favorite of mine. I really, really like this perk. +4 additional points of base damage is an absurdly high number, and this is based on... This is just based on, like, raw damage, right? If we look at it compared to the Plasma Sniper Rifle, I think it's like approximately... If you get the critical hit, you get 6 points of bonus damage. I think that's like almost 50% damage boost. So it can almost match Double Tap, but Double Tap gives you more firepower during the turns that you really badly need it. So this kind of front loads your damage on your first turn, and then it eventually evens out to be similar to Alpha Mike. Alpha Mike, though, guarantees kills on a lot of the trash mobs that you'll be fighting, like the elite admin troopers at Master Sergeant and stuff. You'll probably need Alpha Mike to be able to finish them off. And if you are able to finish them off, you're able to steady your weapons every single round. That is quite nice. Another thing is the thematic theming of this. You got all of the damage bonus perks here. You got Center Mass. It's all showcased with like a gun and a plus icon for how much damage bonus you're getting. You got the Lethal with the +2 damage, and you got the Alpha Mike Foxtrot for the +4 damage. You have the whole family together, and you get like plus, how much damage is that? 7 damage total. That's actually quite a lot. I think it's actually +10 damage if you get a crit too, which is happening a lot with the sniper rifle and a steadied weapon. So there's a lot of fun to be had with the Alpha Mike Foxtrot lethal center mass build that I just kind of love a lot. So personally for me, I would say Alpha Mike Foxtrot is my preferred Master Sergeant perk on the Sharpshooter, although there's going to be arguments for the double tap, and double tap is still very good in its own way though. So I can't exactly just write that off, but personally from playing the game myself rather than just theory crafting, Alpha Mike Foxtrot is a little bit nicer because all of its shots will be benefiting from steadied weapons, assuming you get your kills of course. Now, our theory crafting isn't complete without looking at our bottom row of randomized perks, so let's go take a look. Oh, and before I do that actually, let me explain the other ones actually. So this middle one is the holo-targeting perks. If you remember the Overseer from the last time I talked about perks, you'll see the rapid targeting, high def holo, Eiffel watch. This is a very big perk for the Overseer class. They've also got vital point targeting and independent tracking, multi-targeting. These holo-targeting perks are very, very powerful, and they will increase your accuracy by a lot. And you even get rapid targeting very early on, so you get to mark a bunch of stuff at once. With Eiffel Watch, you are getting a triple shot with this sniper, so this is actually arguably the stronger build, honestly, just because you get so much more of a damage boost compared to the long-range sniper build. But the long-range sniper build does something that this class can't do as effectively, which is reliably kill things at long range. And I think the best way to build it up is actually have both one holo-targeter sniper as well as a long-range sniper. You kind of just pair off of each other, and that's exactly what we're going to be doing here. The bottom row over here is the snapshot build. This one is quite interesting also. You may take standard shots with your sniper rifle after moving, but you suffer severe range penalties beyond 5 tiles of squad sight. Essentially, this is saying you get squad sight that's 5 tiles beyond 17, but past that, your accuracy just drops abysmally off a cliff. And this perk over here is very similar to using the marksman rifle on a scout in Long War 1, if you guys have ever played that. You get to do things like position very aggressively, take free shots, and then run to safety and stuff in Long War 1. You don't get to do that as much in Long War 2, you have to actually stand still after you shoot, but the principle is still the same. You get to take nice flanks with your sniper from the safety of outside of the enemy's range, and as long as you can hold the enemies back with overwatch, suppression, or flashbangs, or whatever else, you can keep your sniper safe and do tons of damage. Over here, you'll see that they have a ton of perks to just up their damage. All the damage perks are actually from the marksman tree over here. Advanced reposition allows you to move again after taking your shot for safety, so that kind of emulates hit and run from Long War 1, but not quite, because in Long War 1 you're allowed to actually shoot twice with your hit and run if you choose to do so. I was told that apparently a lot of Asian players decide to take the snapshot build very often, and I used to do that too actually. When Long War 2 first came out, I was a huge lover of snapshot, and I was wondering why nobody took it, because it just seems so much nicer to be able to reposition and get flanks with your snipers rather than just try to raw dog your numbers through their cover. But after playing with it a lot, there's a lot of value in Death from Above that most people won't realize until they actually try using both these classes side by side on one of those large HQ assault type missions. When you have a snapshotter shooting from extreme ranges versus like one of these Death from Abovers, you'll realize that the snapshotter is only getting like 70-80% accuracy most of the time, whereas the Death from Abover is actually getting 100%, 95-99% accurate shots from across the entire map. That bit of reliability is a huge difference in my eyes, and because of that, I lean towards taking Death from Above. I think Snapshot is better for early game as well as timed missions where you need to move alongside your team. But once you start getting to the late game, you really, really badly want to have things like Death from Above. And in Beyond Legendary, the late game gets tougher and tougher as the game goes on. It's not like in the vanilla XCOM where the game gets easier and easier. It's exactly the opposite. So you actually want to make sure that you're building your team for the end game. Looking at these perks down here, we got some interesting ones here. We got Bullseye. Fire a shot that deals critical damage and gives the target penalties to aim, defense, and will. Now, what's interesting about this is permanent. This lasts until the end of the battle. Now, you can't stack these, so you can't have like 5 people with Bullseye and reduce the Sectopod's aim to 0 and just ignore it for the entire fight. But if you hit something with minus 20 aim, it is just going to be penalized for the entirety of the fight. If you slam a Sectopod with 75 aim with a Bullseye, it's now down to 55 aim. Very low amounts of accuracy. Makes it a lot easier to keep that thing under control while your team fights against everything else on the map. Very powerful perk. I will probably be taking it. This person over here has very high combat intelligence, so we should definitely try to take advantage of this and learn as many perks as possible here. We got the Shooting Sharp perk over here. Your ranged attacks gain +2 armor piercing and also +15 aim when firing against units in cover. I might consider taking Anatomy over Deadeye on this soldier just because we have access to Shooting Sharp. This +2 armor piercing combined with Anatomy's +2 armor piercing allows this soldier to shoot at enemies with 4 armor and just completely ignore their armor. That's actually quite cool. I think I'll do that actually. Got a couple of perks over here. Most of these aren't really relevant to what we're trying to do with our sniper though. I think Bullseye and Shooting Sharp are really the best things here. This will eat into our AP points just a little bit, but not too much because we do have very high intelligence. And I think our final build is going to look something like this. Alright, Seabrez, that is going to be your final build. After that, we got Mr. Rick Sanchez over here. I don't know why the game keeps making my Rick Sanchez black. I changed this a long time ago in the character pool, but for some reason something messed up with it, and he's always turning black. If you guys have watched Rick and Morty, he's supposed to be Caucasian. Let me go fix him up really quickly. How do I do this? I think it's from the head. There we go. Alright then. In terms of abilities, we're going to be going down the holotargeting path with this soldier over here. So that is pretty much down the straight middle path right there. Let me just take one last check over here before I commit to anything. Nimble hands, we get a free reload. That's probably important. Detonation shot, that's kind of important too. Long watch is important. I think long watch is the most important thing on the holotargeter build. Okay, we'll start with this one first. So, we have all the holotargeting abilities, and we have Watchful or Eyeful Watch. Whenever you holotarget an enemy, gain a free reaction shot against them until the start of your next turn. So, what the main combo is we'll be using multi-targeting, or we'll be using rapid targeting to mark 3 targets. Or more, if we have multi-targeting. Then when it's the enemy's turn, we shoot them all with a bunch of damage. That's really just it. Just shoot them all for a bunch of damage, a lot of raw damage from this Eyeful Watch here. We've got the Sniper Elite perk. The Sharpshooter's attacks ignore all dodge modifiers and have +25 aim and 25% critical chance. Additionally, the reaction fire can crit. So this essentially turns our Overwatch shots into 100% accurate and very high crit chance shots, where we're just going to be picking off enemies very quickly, one at a time, from very, very far away, while marking them, and they won't even know what's happening to them. One moment, there'll just be 8 Advent Troopers walking around, the next moment, 5 of them are just gone. For this type of build, I think we just take Long Watch for the squad site overwatches, and then maybe we'll take Nimble Hands or Scouting Report. I'll try out Scouting Report, this one should be fun. You guys might not have seen this perk before. Collect 1 intelligence point each turn. Not to be confused with intel, this is just like some random stacking thing that this perk keeps track of. Intelligence provides offense and defense to all allies, so what that means is our aim is added by +1, and our defense gets +1, up to a maximum of 5. So just by having this guy on the team, you can have up to 5 bonus aim on your entire team, and 5 bonus defense. Very minor bonus, but it's there. It's there to help out your team a bit. And it also adds the decisive action ability. Spend 5 intelligence points to restore 1 ally's action points up to 2. So essentially, you get to refresh one of your teammates' abilities by spending 5 of these points. You can think of it as like a full ability or full action point refresh on a 5-turn cooldown while getting some passive bonuses. Pretty neat, actually. You can use this on other snipers next to you and give them their action points back too. Action points does this take? I think you can do this with just 1 action point. So for example, with this soldier, you are able to just holo-target something, then command your ally to shoot them. Very fun combo that we can do there. I'm going to be going for that. So Long Watch and a Scouting Report. Very simple and straightforward build there. Alright, back over here. I think we've decided that we're skipping out on the Liberation mission, so we're just going to scan past that. Keep on looking for a different Liberation mission down here. Another Liberation mission that we can't do. Only 3 days and 19 hours. I was really hoping that we'd get one with like 6 days or so, but sometimes they can get pretty tough to find these. Alright, we're going to have to delay Liberation for this run with our first cycle of missions, and we'll have to wait 5 days. Quite unfortunate, but let me explain what Liberation is. Liberation is the act of freeing a region from Advent's control and installing your own little government into the place. A provisional government, I think is what the game calls it. And when you do that, this region now belongs to Earth, not Advent anymore, so they can no longer run missions in there, they can't transfer strength in there, and in fact all strength is gone in that region and just like destroyed and sent somewhere else. And essentially, once you liberate the place, this place is yours. You're no longer going to get attacked or retaliated on, so you can switch your people to doing supply. So you can do this thing right there. Not going to do that right now, of course, but you can start getting supplies from your region, and you can start getting actual income. That is like kind of the true contacting quote that you would do in vanilla, where you just get supplies from the regions. That's like the true contacting in Long War. And this comes in multiple steps. To be able to liberate a region so that you have full control over it, you need to do a couple of missions. So first, there are 3 missions all labeled Liberation. You have to find them and do them back to back. So this one is Liberation 1. That's what we call this type of mission. Liberation 1 is usually just recovering an item from a hack. There'll be Liberation 2, Liberation 3, all very simple missions. They tend to be a little bit harder to detect, and they tend to have a few more enemies on it. It's not reflected here because the strength in this region is quite low, but they tend to be tougher missions overall. And once you do all 3 of them, you'll unlock another mission called Network Tower, which looks very similar to the second to last mission in vanilla XCOM. And then once you do that, you'll unlock a big HQ assault. And if you assault that HQ and win it, you get control over the whole region. But that HQ is heavily guarded. There's like up to 40 enemies in that one mission alone that you have to take on with like 8 to 10 soldiers. And it's a very wild ride. It's very exciting. And in Beyond Legendary, it's very, very difficult because the Chosen also participate on that. But it's kind of like the first real check of whether or not you're able to beat Beyond Legendary. It's like a very big skill check, and I had a lot of trouble getting past that on my first few playthroughs. And I'm very happy with how Reshi and Tedster designed it for us. So that's really, really awesome, really exciting, and I'm hoping to showcase to you guys what an HQ Assault looks like, because that's really the really fun stuff when it comes to Beyond Legendary. That's the kind of mission where we'll be using our sharpshooters and our long-range units, kind of positioning our team like they're in an actual war zone rather than a guerrilla warfare type situation.
This will prove to be an important step forward.
Alright, we got our research over here. What we're going to do next is we're going to head into hybrid materials so we can start building weapons
I will
and
begin our
armor.
research immediately.
We also get a brand new Muton Trooper. This guy also needs a new name, so if you guys want this character, leave a comment in the comment section below stating that you want this soldier. Now, with the Muton Trooper, they give you a little bit of a rundown on how to play this guy here if you want. You can read through that. They get access to grenades. They have access to the Mark Target ability. So as a free action, you can mark a target, get plus 15 aim against it, along with the rest of your team. Kind of like an officer might, like the Advent officers. They have the ability to counterattack, just like regular Mutons, so any melee attackers trying to hit these guys will be in for a nasty surprise. And they get a little bit of a punchy move. I think this might be from, this might actually be from Chimera Squad. I actually have no idea why they have this perk there. Alright, bottom row is also randomized just like before, and we have 3 rows here. There's the grenade row, the gun row, and the sword row. So the shooting row comes with grazing attacks. This allows them to get chip damage quite nicely. They also come with some suppression perks like lockdown, plus 20% to hit against enemies who attempt to move while suppressed, suppressing fire. Enemy Mutons also have this ability here. Take a shot with your cannon, and if the target is still alive, you suppress them. The exact same thing that the Dragoon has, actually. Cool Under Pressure turns your Overwatch shots into regular shots, kind of. Combine that with Lockdown, you can actually have more accurate shots than a standard shot with suppression, actually. I've been talking for so long. Improved suppression. Your suppression and area suppression ability is also disorient the primary target. Okay, so you suppress your targets and you disorient them. If they try to move, you hit them for a lot of damage. Very straightforward combo here. This entire little package of perks here sets up for a really powerful suppression Muton. But when it comes to suppression, I find that the gunner does it a little bit better just because they have area suppression. Excessive Force grants Marauder when equipping the Muton Rifle or Traverse Fire when equipping the Muton Cannon. Very complicated way of saying with the Muton Rifle you get to stand still and shoot twice, and with the Muton Cannon you also get to stand still and shoot twice. Just think of it that way. It's a double shot ability. And then finally Saturation Fire over here fires a cone, very similar to the Gunner class, or I think it's called Grenadier in vanilla. They have also a cone shot ability. Down over here we got some grenade perks. Mad Bomber gives you 2 free grenade items. Now these are not just regular grenades, these are 2 random grenades from the list of grenades that can show up in the game. So you can get some really high-tech grenades, or you can just get like a regular frag grenade. A very fun perk if you like gambling and randomization. Needle Arsenal makes it so that your grenades don't destroy loot. Total Combat, you guys know this one from the Skirmisher class. Very loaded perk that gives you a lot of bonuses to your grenade throwing capabilities. Warcry, this one's kind of a fun one. Grants major aim, will, and mobility bonuses to all ally mutons and berserkers, but not to yourself. Most other biological and cybernetic allies will gain a lesser bonus. Does not affect fully robotic units and lasts for 2 turns. Does not end the turn when used and has a 5-turn cooldown. So basically, it's the same thing that you see a lot of the other Mutons doing in Long War. They do a Warcry and they get a lot of bonuses to other Mutons. If you're running a team with a lot of Mutons on it, it can be really fun to just Warcry them all and just watch them rip the enemies to shreds, but that's something that you get much later on when you recruit more aliens and you happen to get more Mutons. But if you do that though, a Muton squad could be quite interesting. Oops, sorry about that. Next perk over here, Charge In. Grants the run and gun ability and additionally grants extra conditioning if a Muton rifle is equipped. So you can get in there and kill things a little bit more effectively. Shake Up. Muton Trooper roars at any enemy targets within line of sight and vision range, trying to make them panic. The chance of success goes down the more targets the user can see, but targets that the user can't see will not be affected by Shake Up. Requires 1 action and does not end the turn. This one's somewhat interesting. If there's 1 solo enemy left on the map, I believe you can get a guaranteed panic. Will always succeed if the user can only see 1 target and will work about half the time against 4 targets. 8 or more targets will always make it fail. will work about half the time against 4 targets. Interesting. So with 4 enemies active, you can actually panic like half of them. That's actually very effective, thinking about it. If I didn't have to give up my multi-shot ability, I might actually consider taking Shake Up. Over here we got Heavy Hitter, +2 damage, and also +1 damage on any dots that might activate from your grenades. Very simple and straightforward perk there. Now down here we've got the melee build. Intercept, you guys saw this on the, what's it called, the Buccaneer. It's basically melee Overwatch. We've also got the Barbarian perk for more reliability, 15 aim and 15 crit. Surge Cutter, another perk shared by the Buccaneer. You get a free attack in if you're standing next to the enemy. You're allowed to dash next to them and do your free attack also. Personal Shield. This is a perk that the Muton Elite has access to in Long War 2. Same exact one. You get 5 points of shield HP. Comes on a 5-turn cooldown. And we also have Dogpile over here. When an ally attacks a foe adjacent to the Muton Trooper, follow up with a melee reaction attack. I don't like the reliability on these things unless we end up taking Cool Under Pressure. But if you do have that though, you have a combo going there. Crusader's Rage, gain damage boost if you're missing HP, and you can ignore wound recovery times by up to 6 HP. Kind of solid for a frontline trooper like the Muton. If it weren't competing against some of these really good perks up here, I might have actually considered taking it. And finally, Reaper, a devastating chain melee attack where the first melee attack cannot miss. Each kill in Reaper mode grants an extra action, but further melee attacks have reduced damage. So whether I choose to go for the melee build, the shooter build, or the grenade build will probably depend fully on this bottom row here. For this Muton, we have access to things like Hunter's Instincts and Shooting Sharp. We got Burial Shot, Tack Senses, ooh. We have average intelligence, so it's not like we can learn a bunch of stuff. But I'm seeing over here, this guy has access to things like Untouchable and Tack Senses. We could consider doing something like this and just going with the melee build. We could take Hunter's Instincts and Shooting Sharp for a nice and deadly shooting build. We also get access to Burial Shot too. We can also take Formidable, Take Under, and Tack Senses and have a nice little core for our melee build. I'm thinking if I am going to do something with this soldier, it'll probably be something involving melee attacks. I think this is a fun little combo that we can do here. We've got Untouchable and Take Under. So Take Under is an attack with your melee weapon that always hits, doesn't end turn, and can only be used against wounded targets on 3 or less health. This ability does not refresh the cooldown of Run and Slice, but that's irrelevant for us. So essentially, if an enemy has 3 or less health, you can execute them with the Muton. That will set up Untouchable and also sets us up to attack other things with our melee attacks too. I think we're going to do that. This is exactly 45 points and it takes 42 points. Or we get 42 points with average, so that is pretty good. And then we'll just pick all the melee abilities here. Maybe we'll swap it around if... maybe I'll try out Shake Up, see how effective that is. And I'll consider maybe switching Personal Shield out for Cool Under Pressure to work with Dogpile. The other option is I can also just take Warcry. Although I am taking Intercept, it wouldn't hurt to take Cool Under Pressure. If I start getting other Mutons before we hit Staff Sergeant, I'll consider taking Warcry also. Alright. That's our Muton right there. And let's keep on scanning. I think we're almost at our next mission here. Got a smash and grab right there. I think we'll just run this right now. It's already at enemy readiness vulnerable. If you guys see, there's occasionally a little descriptor there. Usually at 100% it'll say normal. If it goes down to vulnerable, that means the mission has been made a little bit easier, so I do recommend trying to just over-infiltrate past 100% a little bit and try to get to that vulnerable if possible. But hopefully you guys enjoyed today's little talking session. I think we're reaching the point where we will no longer be having these talking sessions that are super long. we've promoted most of our soldiers, and there will still be a couple of episodes where we have soldier perks to explain, but I think the future ones will be completed in like 30 minutes or so, hopefully. Got a full squad over here. Let's see how they handle this mission. Till next time, thanks for watching, you guys. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. It helps out the channel a bunch. And have a good night. Bye-bye.